Hello everyone, my name's Kim and I'm a quadruple amputee. I lost my hands and my legs above the knee, all because of a UTI that developed into sepsis. So I raised a lot of awareness of sepsis, but until I became a wheelchair user, I had no idea how hard it is for people in a wheelchair to go places, to do things, and also to live. Now, for 6 years, I lived in a bungalow that wasn't wheelchair accessible. I was told by the OT that viewed it with me that it was suitable for a wheelchair user. She was obviously not very good at her job. Had she have been a good OT, she would have said, no, this isn't wheelchair accessible. And she wouldn't have let me accept it. So I moved in thinking it was, because I knew nothing about what wheelchair accessible really meant. I did think the hallway was a bit narrow, and I did think the kitchen and the bathroom were too small, but I thought, well, she said it's suitable, that's it, I can't do anything about it. So I thought, I'll try and get an OT round and maybe get a grant and make the kitchen a little bit more accessible, if it's possible. This OT was absolutely really good at her job. I nearly swore. She was really hot, really, really good at her job. And she explained to me exactly what it was. She sent me all the rules of what it should be and everything. She was so good. So I then applied to Milton Keynes Council, my local council, to get moved. I then sent that application into my housing association, which was Guinness Housing Association, and I also sent it to Habintech because all of their properties are all 100% wheelchair accessible. So I waited 3 years until I actually got one, and I'm now living in a fabulous wheelchair accessible bungalow. It's absolutely incredible. The room I have to move in every single room is just wow. I have so much room, it's incredible. I am so happy. But I struggled in that previous home. Now, my housing association, I'm laughing because the times they would send me a property and I'd go, where is it? What's the postcode? And I'd look on Google Maps, Google Earth, whatever, and I could see that there was a step to get into it. And I went, that's not wheelchair accessible. She said, how do you know? I said, because I've just looked. It's got a step to get into it. I said, how the hell do you expect a wheelchair user to get up a step? Oh, I didn't know it had a step. Oh, I didn't know it wasn't wheelchair accessible. And I said, if it's got a step to get in the front door, it won't be wheelchair accessible inside. Oh, but it's had a wet room and it's had adaptions. Yeah, that doesn't make it wheelchair accessible. It won't have a wide hallway. It won't have all the other things like wide doorways and the bigger kitchen and things like that a wheelchair user needs. Honestly, you have to educate them. Milton Keynes Council, the times they phoned me and they would say, oh, we've got a disabled adapted bungalow for you. I'd just bite their heads off because I'd go, well, disabled adapted property is no good to me. I'm currently living in one. I've got a wheelchair and I can't get in and around in a disabled adapted bungalow. I need a wheelchair accessible bungalow, and that's why I'm on the waiting list. Honest to God. Anyway, because I was working with Habintech, trying to get the government to make all new builds to a wheelchair accessible standard, I was in with the group, and I'd heard about another bungalow that might be coming available in Milton Keynes. And so I said to her, I'd been trying to get through to them when I went on to a Zoom meeting with them. She said, oh, let me just send a message over to Julie. And she told me Julie's name and everything. So I then left it a week and I phoned Julie and she said, no, we haven't heard anything about that bungalow. She said, as far as we're aware, the tenant, is coming back to it. So he'd been in hospital and he had apparently gone into respite or something. So I thought that meant he wouldn't be going back to it. But according to them, he would be. So that was no good. She said, but I've been looking and we have got one coming available soon. So I said, oh, brilliant. Where is it? So she told me that it was the street and the estate, not the door number. So I said, oh, brilliant. I said, would you mind letting me know if you have to give it to the council and you don't allocate it? Yeah, she said, I'll let you know. Anyway, she phoned me back. I don't know how much longer it was, maybe a couple of weeks. And she said, we've had to allocate that bungalow to Milton Keynes Council. And I've actually allocated it today to them. So I immediately emailed the council. Heard nothing. So the next day I thought, maybe I put the wrong, because you get a, what's it called? A reference number. Sepsis brain. You get a reference number. So I thought maybe I put the old reference number on. So I emailed again saying, I think I may have given you the old reference number, which is this, but this is my new reference number. So still never heard anything. So that was the Monday and the Tuesday. Then on the Wednesday, I thought, no, I'm not having this. I'm not having it. 2 weeks before, they'd phoned me with a disabled adapted bungalow again. And I'd said no to it. So I then decided, right, I'm going to send an email. So I sent an email and I said, I contacted you on Monday and I still haven't heard anything. I would like to be considered for this bungalow that I've told you about. I've told you where it is. I've told you the street name and the estate it's on. And I would like to be considered for that bungalow. It was only about 2 weeks ago that you offered me a disabled adapted bungalow, and I have to keep telling you that disabled adapted isn't suitable for me and that I would like this particular bungalow because it meets my needs. And I said, and if I don't hear from you and I don't get considered for it, I will be going to my MP. I will be going to the TV shows. I will be going to the newspapers. I will be going to everywhere I can to complain about Milton Keynes Council. Within an hour of sending that email, I got an email back saying that I was getting it. I was going to be offered it and a housing officer would be in touch within the day. Within about an hour after that, I got an email from the housing officer being offered this bungalow. And then but it was quite funny because he sent me an email and it actually had the wrong address on. So we're going around peering through the windows and it was the wrong address. It was the one round the corner, completely different door number. So anyway, we then found out the housing officer from Havinteg phoned us and we found out the correct door number and we came and viewed it. And oh my God, I just loved it. I was just so in love. And this property has literally lifted me so much. Being able to move around in every single room. I whiz around in my wheelchair now. Whereas before I had to be so slow because otherwise I would catch the doors. And sometimes I'd forget trying to get to the door quick if somebody came or whatever. And I'd scrape all the doors. I'd scrape all the paintwork because I was going quick. I'd get a bit too close. And here I don't have to worry. I don't have to worry. It's just absolutely incredible. So I want everybody, if you see anything about trying to lobby the government about wheelchair accessible homes, it's for everybody because it's for the future. You never know when you're going to become disabled. I became disabled out of something that happened like a freak thing, really. I just was away on holiday, got a UTI, developed sepsis, ended up having my hands and legs amputated and now need to be in a wheelchair accessible home because I'm going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. None of us know what's around the corner. And, the population's getting older and older, and older people are going to need wheelchair accessible bungalows possibly in the future. And if only all homes were built to that standard, people wouldn't have to necessarily move. It would be for their lifetime if they chose to stay there for their lifetime. And that's what we need. So Havinteg are still trying to recruit more people to join the Insight group. If you would like to become a member of the Insight group, please go to Havinteg's website, but search in Havinteg Housing Association Insight group and then request to join. Fill out the form and join me. I might have my wheelchair accessible home now, but I'm still fighting for all the others and to get the government to change things for the future for everybody. You never know when it's going to happen to you, like I've said. So please think about joining us and come and help us. Thank you. Take care.